Hello everyone! First of all, I would like to say thanks to the organizers and Sophie for making this session possible. My name is Melissa Costei, I'm a doctoral student in Argentina, and now I'm in the US as a visiting scholar at Texas A&M University. I'm here today to talk to you about my ongoing research, which is about political ecology of lithium production in northern Argentina. Some of you probably know that during the last 10 years, lithium's price and demand have increased, and so have investment to produce lithium in Argentina. Well, political ecology is a powerful approach to study mining industries by prioritizing power struggles and relations that occur at the interface between environmental and social issues. And social network analysis, or SNA, is a quantitative approach that was also used in the context of resource governance to analyze connections between stakeholders. So, by taking into account both political ecology and social network analysis, we pose the following research question. Where is power in lithium? And within the field of political ecology, power has been investigated and defined according to three different conceptions. The actor-oriented conception is based on the assumption that power is a capacity of actors, and it was used in political ecology to make visible the responsibility of certain actors in environmental change. And then the constitutive conception of power describes power as capillary, as both individuals and society are constituted by power relations, and it was used by political ecologists to show how narratives and discourses shape our perceptions on environment. And the neo-Marxist conception of power proposed that human agency and also power are constrained but also enabled by social structures. And power has been also analyzed using SNA, and in most cases, power was seen as an attribute of actors and inferred by quantitative measures. So central actors were considered as powerful actors. But there is a more dynamic way of considering power in SNA that is related to the idea that power is fluctuating and changing within the network. So, previous research on lithium production focused on conflicts, on imaginaries of lithium, on social and environmental impacts of the lithium value chain. There are also some geopolitical studies, but the question about power haven't been posed before to study lithium mining. So in that context, our study area is the pioneer region of the provinces of Salta, Jujuy and Catamarca, and highly concentrated lithium is found there in the brine of the salt flats at approximately 4,000 meter elevation, which make production more profitable and easier. This is an example of a lithium production plant in Jujuy, and well, the pioneer region is inhabited by a lot of indigenous communities whose traditional economic activity is related to the grazing of llamas and goats, but currently, with the arrival of mining industry, there are some locals that are working on mining companies. There are some examples here of social-environmental conflicts. The sign at the left reads, "Not to lithium, yes to water and life," and the other one says, "We don't need batteries, they take water, they take our lives." So here we proposed a mixed method approach that consists in 4 steps to analyze and to locate power within the lithium production network. In step 1, we identified and categorized stakeholders by using a stakeholder analysis, and we created a map and a production network diagram. Then in step 2, we investigated relationships between stakeholders with SNA, and the data was collected through a questionnaire and analyzed with UCI Net6 and NetDraw. Unfortunately, we faced many challenges and troubles in data collection. We have a rate of responses of 10%, So what I'm going to show you here are not the whole results, but some preliminary results. And in step 3, we will analyze social perceptions around lithium production using Q method to see if there are some connections between the stakeholders' position in the network and their perception of lithium production. And finally, we will use ethnography to investigate the daily life to better understand how power is being exercised continuously within the network. Here you can see some of the questions of the questionnaire that are related to these 5 topics, which are stakeholders' perceived influence, stakeholders' relationships, the value that stakeholders place to those relationships, and we also asked about social perspectives on development and the factors that stakeholders think that can affect them negatively. You can see some pictures here of the questionnaire, and we distributed the questionnaire as a Google form by email to all the institutions, and then we conducted face-to-face survey to indigenous communities during 3 fieldwork campaigns in December 2019. Well, this is our first preliminary result, the stakeholder analysis, and we identified 44 indigenous communities and 12 municipal institutions that are affected by lithium production. Then 24 provincial institutions and 13 national institutions involved in mining policies, in connecting mining companies, and also in doing research and advising indigenous communities were also identified. And we found 20 companies operating lithium projects in both production and advanced exploration stage. And well, here you can see the map that we made with the stakeholder analysis, and you can see the indigenous communities, the circles over there, and also lithium projects. And the source of funds for lithium projects in Argentina come mostly from foreign companies. And well, this is the network production diagram that I mentioned before. And one of the most interesting points of this diagram is that the type of the links here could be read as different forms of power. So, first of all, 2 material products emerge from the subflat. First of all, salt that is extracted by indigenous communities, and then lithium that is extracted and transformed by global firms. Well, in Argentina, natural resources are owned by provincial states, and they are in charge of granting mining areas, and probably without these concessions, lithium mining would not be possible. But even though resources are provincially owned, firms pay the mining royalties that are around the 3% of the annual profit of companies to the national government. So the income generated by exportations flows from global firms to the national government, to the provinces, and also to some indigenous communities where arrangements with global firms were made. And what is interesting in this diagram is that the only set of stakeholders that seems to be connected with all the network is global firms. And well, then the nature of the links between global firms and communities depends on land titles. And for example, indigenous communities without land titles have conflict relationships with global firms and with the government, while indigenous communities with land titles have made some arrangements with mining companies, and they gave permission to work on their territories. And what is also relevant is that communities perceived that permissions as decisive for lithium production. And well, this image shows the lithium network production of Salta province, and notes in green indicate the small number of respondents, so I will not show you here a quantitative analysis, but some preliminary results. And among respondents, the most connected stakeholder is the Secretary of Mining, and on the contrary, the worst connected one is the Secretary of Environment. Then 3 communities, Santa Rosa de los Pastos Grandes, Olacapato, and San Antonio de los Cobres, that don't have land titles, prove to be quite connected to each other, and then the Institute of Indigenous Peoples and is also well connected among communities, and so is the Secretary of Mining, because it holds kind of a mining roundtable where communities take part. Then the mining chamber, there is a private institution that is conformed by mining companies, told us that it frequently meets the Secretary of Mining and that they influence each other on decision making. And the 3 communities told us that they feel that they don't have any influence on lithium production. So with this network, I will try to show you how political ecology and SNA can be combined to locate power. And well, in the previous network, the best connected actors were the Secretary of Mining, the Institute of Indigenous Peoples, and Santa Rosa de los Pastos Grandes. However, the later 2 told us that they feel that they don't have any influence on lithium production. And what is more, communities told us that they were really disappointed with the Secretary of Mining because they asked for some information and benefits, and the Secretary of Mining didn't take them into account. And something similar occurs with the Institute for Indigenous Peoples, and the community president of Olacapato told us that the institute has a lot of resources, economic resources, that are being wasted. And also during our fieldwork, we confirmed that the Secretary of Environment is not playing any role in lithium production, which means that nobody in Salta is controlling mining operations. This could lead into environmental damage and also into new conflicts, and of course into the reconfiguration of the way in which power is fluctuating and being exercised within the network. And I would like to end this presentation by arguing that the combination between political ecology and SNA is not only possible but also necessary to answer our research question. And in physical terms, we can say that the power in lithium lies in its properties for energy storage, but in social terms, power in lithium is the possibility to determine the rules that guide the production network, but it is also the possibility of contesting that rules. So for us, power cannot be inferred by quantitative measures, but SNA can contribute to the study of power by showing in a less biased way how relations between stakeholders are established. And then a political ecology approach that understands power as situated and embodied practices, and that combines the interest of the 3 conceptions of powers that we mentioned before, is also necessary to assign sense and meaning to the relationships that we can see with SNA. So a political ecology approach to SNA should consider complementary analysis, employing Q method and ethnography to better explore the place of power within the lithium network production. So, thank you very much for your attention. I would really appreciate all your comments and suggestions, and I'll be happy to answer your questions on our virtual session.